Hello, thanks for watching this video on disclosures. It's going to be somewhat of a long video, but it's going to save you a lot of time and give you a little bit of insight to the disclosures. So please watch the entire video. You're going to be getting a link from a system called Glide, and that's how we complete the disclosures. And when you're done with answering all the questions through Glide, it'll populate your answers into the forms. And they're really important because this is what's going to limit your liability when you're selling a home. So this is probably the most important part of the process, besides getting an offer, but kind of behind the scenes, getting all your documentation to the buyers. So let's go through this. I'm going to talk fast because there's several pages to go through, but it's definitely worth your time watching this because it'll be faster going through a couple hundred questions that they're going to ask you in the disclosures. So this is the disclosure information advisory. It's a 3-page document that gives you basic insight of how to complete the documents. Basically, you're supposed to disclose anything known that might affect the value or desirability of the property, material conditions. One thing it talks several times about neighbors. There's always neighbors that will come and talk to the new homeowner and talk to them about things in the area, things that happened to your house. If you had tenants in there, so you had a flood, so remember, neighbors will be talking to the new homeowners, especially if you have area, say you have a neighbor that plays in a band, kids playing a band all the time. It's not, loud, and that wasn't disclosed. That's the kind of stuff the neighbor is going to come over. Nice to meet you. Did you hear about X, Y, and Z? So keep that in mind. You can't leave any items blank. You have to fill out every item unless it doesn't apply. And then this is actually a really important part. The disclosure forms ask if you are aware of an item, then you need to answer it. If you are not aware of a particular item, then you should answer the question no. So it says, are you aware? And if you're not aware, then it would typically default to no. You should answer that question no. That's a simple little hint right there, because a lot of times you don't even know what they're asking. Like, I have no idea about that. Well, if you don't know, you're not aware of it, the answer is no. When you go through these questions, and real quick, you're going to get a link, an email from Glide with a link. You can keep that email handy because you can go in and work on your disclosures and come back to them. It'll save your answers. You can also upload documents right into the questions. So just a little information on there. Avoid using words such as never, minor, insignificant, small. That might reflect your opinion. So if you have a leak, you don't say it's a big leak, a small leak. It's just a leak is how they're referring to it. It's a minor repair. That's subjective, so you want to stay away from those. You just kind of tell them the facts and consider all items, problems with your properties. And it even says not necessarily on your property, but are also related to the neighbor's property, shared fences, lot line debates, those kind of things, smells, noises. So again, it's not just your property; it's your surrounding areas, your neighbor's property that you need to keep in mind. And these documents I'm going through in the questions, these are not specifically to your property. I'm going to go over items that might not even pertain to your property, and there's going to be items that I don't go over that are going to pertain to your property. So this is just general information to help you navigate through the disclosures and some items that I see that are typically, get a lot of questions. These basically go through the transfer disclosure statement, the seller questionnaire. Those are the two big forms. Anyway, when you get to here, it talks again, possible changes to your neighborhood, such as an addition. So if they're doing construction, you can have two things. One, are they blocking your view? But it doesn't necessarily have to be that. If they're doing construction and they're just going to start, and it's going to take a year and a half, and it's going to be construction zone next door, some people get very upset by that. New construction or road changes, if they're doing any changes. This is also really important. On the bottom of this form, your listing broker recommends you consult with a qualified real estate attorney for advice. Your listing broker cannot and will not give you any advice pertaining to the law. And then it also says in here, your listing broker cannot here and will not tell you what to disclose, how to disclose it, or what changes need to be made to your answers. We're not allowed to. So just so you're aware of that. But you can call me. I can give you my experiences, but I can't give you specific direction on the forms. Luckily, they're pretty straightforward. They're just long. Okay, so now we're getting into the forms. This is a disclosure advisory. So anyway, we get into the forms. There's basically three big forms: real estate transfer disclosure statement, and the seller questionnaire and the seller questionnaire addendum. The first part of this document, it's basically going to ask you what items you have that pertain to your property: trash compactor, garbage disposal, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide. You're supposed to have smoke detectors in every bedroom and one in every common room on each floor, and then carbon monoxide detectors on each floor. So anyway, you go through, you have a septic tank, you have a patio and a deck, gazebo, security cameras, it's yes or no. And then at the end it says, are any of them not in operating condition? And you would say, yes or no, depending on it. Here's the deal: you gotta answer each question a yes or no. If it's no, then you go to the next question. If it's yes, you gotta stop and you gotta give them more information. What happened? What'd you do to repair it? Do you have any documentation? Basically, you need to give them, everything you know about the property and repairs and corrections you've made to the home. And Glide will kind of help you with that. Make sure it's answered in full, or at least the best of your ability. Next question: are you aware of any significant malfunctions of the following? Yes or no? Interior walls, ceilings, exterior walls, roof. So if you have a roof problem and leaks, you want to put yes, and roof leaks, or anything else on here: fences, sidewalks, other structural components. So if there's something that you have weird going on with your house and there isn't a specific question, there are a couple places that are catch-all questions to make sure you answer that. One other thing in here this is actually really good. I'm going back to this advisory. When in doubt, the best answer to the question is basically say, do I need to disclose? The answer is always yes. So when in doubt, disclose what they're saying. If you're not sure, it almost always is going to be yes. If you go to an attorney and say, hey, should I disclose X, Y, and Z? They're going to tell you yes. So if you're asking yourself, should I disclose it? The answer is yes. And you're giving your property or information from your property to a potential buyer, and they need to make an informed decision on the condition of it. So sorry, I didn't mean to jump around, but and then there's a series of questions, yes or no. These are kind of highlighted this section for HOA. Almost all HOAs have CC&Rs, and some HOAs or some areas that do not have an HOA still have a CC&Rs. And some homeowners aren't aware of that, but if you are, you want to put yes. Homeowners Association, if you have a homeowners, those are almost always going to be yes in most cases. Any flooding and drainage problems, any encroachments. So it's a bunch of yes or no's. If it's no, it's easy. Yes, you got to dig in and answer the question a little more in depth. And the next form is the seller property questionnaire. Basically, the purpose of this is to tell the buyer about all material and significant items affecting the value and desirability of the property. That's really a pretty good line summing up what you're doing on these. And then it goes into basically a series of questions again. Documents. Do you have any documents? Reports, inspections, disclosures, estimates, surveys, anything like that, you need to basically provide those. And here again, it says, are you aware of? So remember, if you're not aware of it, it's no. If you are aware, then you need to disclose it. Another big one that's common is insurance claims affecting the property within 5 years. That's a lot of times there's some, especially in condos, there's almost always some sort of a leak or something that happens. This is another big one that usually is something that is commonly checked: repairs and alterations, any modifications, improvements, remodels of the property. Yes, and you're going to list all the items that you've done, and do you have documentation, any estimates, that kind of thing. And if you notice on these, it doesn't say in the last 5 years. Actually, the insurance one does. That's specific to insurance. But most of them are just open-ended. And the question is, how far do you go back? And again, I can't advise you on that. You're supposed to list everything with the property. So, but I think, also you were thinking, liability wise, right? If you put a light cover switch on, something were to happen, that you're probably not going to get sued for a light switch. But if you had a leak or something substantial, and that's a gray area that I can't give you advice on, but I would always keep that in mind liability wise. The whole purpose of these forms is to minimize your liability. And if you do these right, you have a good chance of minimizing it. Water related mold issues. Have you had any water intrusion in your house, or any mold or any fungus items from prior leak? Pets, animals, and pests. This is also one that might seem not that important, but a lot of people are very sensitive to animals, and so you want to make sure you list or if you had tenants that had animals or anything like that in the property. Condominiums. If you have a condo, then you're going to have to answer these. If you don't, this would be one that would be not. You wouldn't answer. You would skip this. One of the big ones are increased HOA dues or special assessments. So you want to make sure if you know about it. If you don't, remember it says, "Are you aware?" If you're not aware, then the answer is typically no. If you are, then you need to notify what items there, any type of assessments or changes of rules, that kind of thing. Ownership and legal, if you have any legal, any lawsuits pending, that kind of thing. This also has any leased items. So if you have a solar system, that's probably the most common, any lease systems. You want to put yes, lease solar system, and then you're going to provide all your documentation for the solar system. Neighborhoods, nuisances. This is a pretty important one you want to really think through, because remember, something might not bother you, but it might bother a new buyer. So you want to basically think through, is anything around my house, the house itself, or anything around it that could be problematic? Parking congestion, airplane noise, trains, subways, trucks, freeways, road noise. There's a lot of this is pretty subjective. Air compressors, generators, pool equipment, something that would bother someone, not necessarily you, but someone else. And if you can think of that, you want to basically check yes and put whatever that would be in there in this section. These are, just a series of questions. And then this is actually a catch-all one here as well. Other, any past or present known material defects or other significant items affecting the value and desirability of the property not otherwise disclosed to the buyer. So, hey, is there anything else that we didn't have questions on? This is where you'd put that, you'd answer that question right here. Seller property questionnaire addendum is an extension of the form we just went through, and it goes into a little bit deeper. Any issues with the roof? Do you have hardwood floors, if they're under the carpet? There's a series of questions. This is another one on, and they kind of added this, I think, for the solar systems, because solar systems are quite confusing sometimes. Lease or financed items and systems, and it has solar panels in here. And it says, again, are you aware? If you have it, then if you have a system, you check it, and you would basically provide any documentation for that as well. This one also talks about insurance claims again. So there are many times where they ask a question more than once, and usually if they're asking more than once, it probably had more problems from a legal side. Okay, boundaries. Okay, and then the next part is basically condominium, another section with parking. This is another one that is important to identify. Parking can be problematic in the sense of, you say you have two parking spaces, one you own, one you're renting from a neighbor. You need to be very clear that the property, the parking spaces that you're stating you have, that you actually own, they transfer with the property. Storage, any modifications to your unit if you have not done it with HOA approval, that kind of thing. And then this is another, neighborhood questions, any proposed construction that will affect the existing view. And remember, are you aware? If you're not aware, it would be no. If you are, you need to make sure you tell. And when in doubt, you want to disclose it. If you think they're going to be doing some some construction and it might block the view, you need to put that in there. Prior transaction disclosures. This is if you, when you bought your property, the same forms you're filling out when you bought it, they were probably given to you from the seller when you purchased the property. And if you have those, you need to disclose those as well. If you don't have them, then you need to say no. And then it says in here, if not in your possession, explain. I don't know the location of them. I lost them, 6 years ago, and that's fine. It's better if you have them, because they might have something in disclosure that you might have forgot or might not have known about. So if you have any old disclosures from the seller, also inspection reports, termite report, whatever you had received when you bought the property, you're supposed to disclose those as well. Okay, and that's pretty much it on that form. The last one is a parking and storage disclosure, which is kind of doubles up from the seller questionnaire addendum. Same thing. What parking spaces are you using? Or maybe you don't have any parking, you want to put that in there. Parking, you want to make it really crystal clear what comes with your property. And then anything other for further discuss. So, okay, so thanks for watching this. The disclosures are long. They take a while. What I would do is I would go through your disclosures, and you can probably knock out 90-95% of the questions. You can flag questions, come back to those and expand on them. Or if you need to find documentation, you can get those ready on your laptop, and then you can start putting those in and adding those documents in the right places within Glide. So thanks for watching. And if you have specific questions, you can give me a call and I can do my best. Like I said, I can't tell you what to put, but I can at least be a sounding board to hear what your questions are and then just give you my best insight. But obviously I can't give you specifics. So thank you for watching. Bye-bye.